The billionaire CEO, her wink, and the most romantic chaos ever before. We start. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And when the story ends, don't forget to rate it from 0 to 10. Enjoy the ride. Juniper Hale's left eye blinked twice, and she knew exactly what that meant. The universe was about to mess with her, again. Standing inside the mirrored elevator at Bowmont Industries, June stared at her own left eyelid like she was in a silent standoff with an invisible enemy. Listen, she whispered, leaning closer to the mirror. We had a deal, remember? I let you binge romantic series until 3 a.m., and you stay quiet in professional settings. No twitching, no dramatic flair, no emotional radar activation. The eye blinked again. June closed both eyes, took a deep breath, and muttered, Fine, you want war? I'll put on an eye patch and pretend I'm a corporate pirate. Don't test me. The elevator doors opened, and what she saw could only be described as corporate apocalypse. The Bowmont Industries lobby looked like a rock concert where everyone had lost their tickets. Executives were running everywhere like game characters with no player in control. A woman in red heels shouted into her phone, No! The contract in Mandarin, not Cantonese. A man was sweating so much he looked like he'd just left a sauna wearing a suit. Another tried to balance 3 tablets like a nervous juggler about to drop them all. June took 2 steps back, seriously considering pressing the lobby button and pretending she'd walked into the wrong building. Then she saw him. In the middle of the chaos stood a man. Still, completely still. Like the storm around him was just some dull commercial he was waiting to end. He was tall, very tall, broad shoulders, charcoal gray suit that screamed custom Italian design, dark hair perfectly styled, jawline sharp enough to cut glass, and again, very tall. He held a folder like he was considering using it as a weapon. June assumed he was security, or maybe a model who had wandered off from a GQ photo shoot. She had documents to deliver. Simple task. Drop them off and leave. Easy. She straightened her blouse, ironed 5 times, courtesy of anxiety, and walked toward him with the professional smile she'd rehearsed that morning. Hi, sorry to interrupt this elegant apocalypse, she said, holding out the folder. I'm Juniper Hale, the new temp assistant, and they told me to deliver this. So, mission accomplished. I'll just quietly evaporate now. She turned to leave. Wait, his voice was deep, like a movie trailer narrator. The kind that says, in a world where elevators actually work. June froze, turned slowly, and gave him a nervous smile. He opened the folder, skimmed through the papers, then looked at her. Blue eyes. Intense. The kind that seemed to know your social security number just by staring. Do you know anything about international contracts? June's left eye blinked. I took an online course with a PDF certificate, but I read fast and have a good memory for numbers and... Why are you looking at me like that? Perfect. Come with me. Excuse me, what? But he was already walking away, taking long, confident strides, like someone who had never once chased a bus in his life. June stood there for 2 seconds, processing, then ran after him like a lost puppy trying to keep up. Hey, sir, stylish security guy, she called, tripping over her own shoe. Who are you? Where are we going? Is this a corporate kidnapping? He stopped in front of a massive glass door engraved with golden letters. Executive Boardroom. He turned to her. Carter Bowmont. June's brain shut down, rebooted, shut down again. Carter Bowmont, the CEO, the billionaire, the man Forbes called the relentless genius who turned technology into art. And she had just called him stylish security guy. Both her eyes started blinking, left, right, left again, now both at once like a malfunctioning Christmas light. She squeaked, voice 3 octaves higher. You, the boss. The mega ultra super boss? I thought you were, a really fashionable security guard? Not that security guards aren't amazing. They're heroes, but you're kind of the guy who signs their paychecks and breathe, Carter said, and June was certain he was holding back a laugh. She inhaled loudly, like a deflating balloon trying to recover its dignity. I need someone to review a presentation before the meeting with the Japanese investors, he said, opening the door. My main assistant couldn't make it in time. Will you do it? June looked at the folder he handed her. Except, technically she could. But she could also technically go bungee jumping, and that didn't mean it was a good idea. Still, she heard her own voice say, yes, of course, totally, I was born for this. Lie. She was born to watch shows with popcorn and judge bad character decisions. Carter walked in. June looked up at the ceiling, whispered, "Help me, universe," and followed. The room was the size of her entire apartment. Giant mahogany table, leather chairs that looked like thrones, a panoramic view of Seattle that could have been a computer wallpaper. June sat down, trying not to look like a child in an adult chair, and opened the laptop Carter pushed toward her. He connected the presentation to the projector. 5 minutes, he said. 5 minutes. Easy. No pressure. Just a billionaire CEO waiting while she checked slides probably made by Harvard geniuses. June started reading. Slide 1, perfect. Slide 2, flawless. Slide 3, beautiful. Slide 4, wait, she blinked. Left eye. Read again. Blink, right eye this time. There was a wrong number. Small, subtle, but wrong. The third quarter profit projection showed 2.88 million instead of 2.3 million. Did you find something? Carter asked, adjusting his tie without looking away from her. June opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Closed it. Opened it again. Both eyes blinked at once. 3 times. Kind of panic Morse code. No, 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 she whispered to herself, hands clenched. Please, eyes, don't do this now. 2-eye blinking means red alert. Emotional drama officially activated. Carter frowned. Are you okay? June took a deep breath, pointed at the slide with a trembling finger, and spoke fast, like an auctioneer in distress. Slide 4, profit projection. Third quarter. The number's wrong. It should be 2.3, not 2.8. I checked 3 times in my head, and my eye confirmed it, because it does that. It blinks when something's off. I know it sounds crazy, but I swear my body has emotional Wi-Fi. And Carter moved closer to the screen, pulled out his phone, checked something. The silence lasted 7 seconds that felt like 7 geological eras. You're right, he said, and his tone changed. Surprised? Impressed? How did you even notice that? June shrugged, laughing nervously. My eye. It's basically a trouble detector. Really annoying at parties, but great with spreadsheets. Carter corrected the slide, saved the file, and looked back at her. This time, with that look of someone who just found something intriguing. What's your full name? Juniper Hale. But everyone calls me June, because Juniper sounds like a fairy hippie name, and I already have enough problems without adding fairy to the list. He almost smiled. Almost. June? Thank you. You just saved this meeting. Before she could say anything smart, or more likely something embarrassing, the door opened. 5 Japanese executives walked in, followed by the Bowmont Industries board. The meeting began. June sat quietly in the corner, trying to be invisible but watching everything like it was a live corporate drama episode. Carter presented with confidence, answered questions in English and Japanese. Wait, what? Negotiated clauses like he was ordering coffee, and when slide 4 came up, the corrected one, he glanced at June. She nodded. Like you're good, buddy, the eye approves. He smiled. Just for a second. But she saw it. When the meeting ended and everyone left satisfied, June tried to slip away with the crowd. June. She stopped. Turned slowly. Carter stood by the table, hands in his pockets, wearing that expression that said, I'm trying to figure you out, and it's kind of fun. You start tomorrow. Officially. 8 a.m.? June blinked. Both eyes. But this time it wasn't fear. It was hope. Happy confusion. Really? Don't be late. She smiled like an idiot. You got it, boss. Carter nodded, almost smiling again. Interesting, he murmured to himself. Very interesting. And he walked out. June stood alone in the giant room, holding the folder, staring into space, processing everything. Then she looked at her own reflection in the window and whispered. We did it. We did it. The eye blinked. But this time June was sure. It was a victory blink. June woke up the next morning half convinced she'd dreamed the whole thing until she saw the email on her phone. Subject: Welcome to the team, starting today at 8 a.m. She screamed. Literally. The kind of scream you hear in a horror movie, only happy. Now she was standing in the company's bathroom mirror, rehearsing professional phrases like she was auditioning for Broadway. Good morning, team. I'm here to add value. Pause. No, too robotic. Try again. Hi, everyone. Ready to get to work? She grimaced. Sounds like a yogurt commercial. Focus, June, focus. She adjusted her beige blouse, ironed 6 times because first-day trauma was still fresh, took a deep breath, and gave herself a light slap on the cheek. You are professional. You are capable. You will not blink like a faulty turn signal. Her left eye twitched. I warned you, she hissed at her reflection. We had a deal. Good behavior, or I put on sunglasses and pretend I'm a secret agent. When she walked out, she nearly collided with a blonde woman wearing heels so high they seemed to defy gravity. The woman's white dress was flawless, a tablet tucked under one arm, and her smile, June knew that smile. The "I'm about to judge your soul" kind. "Oh," the woman said, looking June up and down as if she were assessing used furniture. "You must be the temporary hire." June smiled, trying to sound confident. "Juniper Hale, but you can call me June. Or Juniper, or, hey you, whatever works best." The woman didn't smile back. "Eloise Winters, Senior Executive Assistant to Mr. Bowmont." She said senior like she meant ruler of the corporate universe. "I hope you can keep up. Not everyone adapts." June's left eye twitched again, emotional radar flashing, social danger alert. "Oh, I'm great at adapting," June said, laughing nervously, "like a chameleon, just without the long tongue. That would be weird at work." Eloise stared at her as if deciding whether June was funny or a walking HR concern. "See you in the team meeting, 9 sharp. Don't be late." Then she walked away, heels clicking like a countdown to detonation. June stood there processing. Okay, so the villain just made her entrance. Perfect. Perfect. Because my life clearly needed more pressure. Thank you, universe. Very generous. She checked her watch. 8:40. 20 minutes until the meeting. 20 minutes to mentally prepare not to embarrass herself in front of everyone. No pressure. The conference room was packed. At least 15 people around a massive table, all looking like they'd stepped out of a business magazine. June sat at the end, trying to take up as little space as possible, like foldable furniture. Carter walked in last, and instantly the entire room shifted. Everyone sat straighter. Phones disappeared. Full attention. He wore a navy suit that probably cost more than her non-existent car. Perfect hair. The kind of posture that said he'd never doubted himself a day in his life. He scanned the room, and when his eyes met hers, he gave the smallest nod, like, "Yes, I acknowledge your existence." Her heart jumped. Both eyes blinked. "Stop, stop. You cannot blink from emotional cuteness right now. Professional focus, please." Carter started talking about quarterly goals, new contracts, international expansion. June tried to listen, but her brain kept wandering to the way he gestured, like a teacher who genuinely loved his subject. Then Eloise raised her hand. "Mr. Beaumont, about the new, temporary employee." She turned to June with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Maybe it would be helpful if she introduced herself so everyone knows who she is." The silence that followed felt like being dropped into a pool of concrete. Every head turned toward her. Every single one. June's left eye twitched, then the right, then both. Perfect synchronized panic. Hi." Her voice came out 3 octaves too high. "I'm June, technically Juniper, but June's easier and less fairy hippie. I am, like numbers, and coffee, and working. Yes, work. That's why I'm here. To work, with you, together, as a team, that works." Someone coughed to hide a laugh. Eloise smiled like a cat that had just trapped its mouse, and then Carter spoke, calm and steady as ever. "June spotted a critical error in under 5 minutes yesterday. One that would have cost $2.5 million if it had gone unnoticed." He looked around the table. "So yes, she's here, and she's staying." Eloise's jaw tightened. June tried not to smile like an idiot, but failed. She smiled, like a complete idiot. Carter went on with the meeting as if nothing had happened, but June noticed. He looked at her again. Quick. And there was something at the corner of his mouth. Almost a smile. When the meeting ended, everyone left quickly, except Eloise, who brushed past June and whispered, "Watch the blinking. People notice." Then she left. June stayed alone in the room, holding the pen she'd gripped so hard it left a red mark on her hand. "Great," she muttered, looking up at the ceiling. "Now I've got a corporate archenemy. Perfect. Because my life definitely needed more drama." What's next? A pigeon chase? A spilled coffee curse? She stood up, straightened her blouse, and whispered to herself, "Breathe, June. You saved $2.5 million yesterday. You can do this. You are capable." "You talking to yourself again?" June froze. Carter was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, wearing that look of quiet amusement. "I know. I mean, yes. But motivational self-coaching? It's a thing. Very popular. Among people who talk to themselves." He almost smiled. Almost. "You adapted well today. I was sweating like a marathon runner in the desert, but thanks." This time he smiled. For real. And June knew 2 things for certain. 1, she was in trouble. Two, her eye had just blinked, and it wasn't out of fear. It was something much, much more dangerous. June had a theory. The universe had an invisible timer set to destroy her moments of glory exactly 24 hours after they happened. And today, holding a tray with 6 cups of coffee while trying not to trip over her own feet, she was sure the timer had just gone off. "It's fine," she whispered to herself, balancing the tray like it was a live bomb. "You've got this. It's just coffee, hot liquid in unstable containers. What could go wrong? Nothing." Her left eye twitched. "No. You are not allowed to do that right now. We are holding coffee that costs about a week's salary per cup. Exemplary behavior, or I'm selling you to the first pirate who wants a corporate eye patch." She turned the corner and, of course, because the universe had a cruel sense of humor, almost collided with a cart full of documents that no one had warned her about. June dodged. Dramatic, slow-motion dodge. Something between ninja and emergency ballerina. The tray tilted. 1 cup leaned. She shifted the weight. All the cups leaned. "No, no, no, no," she chanted like a survival mantra, walking in slow motion as the coffee threatened to turn into a caffeine tsunami. She reached the conference room. Door open. Entire team seated. Carter at the head of the table. Eloise beside him, wearing that smile that said she was waiting for the circus to catch fire. "Good morning," June announced, voice 3 octaves too high. "I brought coffee. Hot coffee. Coffee that definitely won't turn into a disaster." She took 2 steps inside. Her shoe caught on the edge of the carpet. The carpet that had been there forever but chose this exact second to become her mortal enemy. June tripped, the tray flew, and the world shifted into slow motion, action movie style. Except instead of explosions, there was coffee flying in a dramatic arc across the room. She tried to save it, lunged forward, caught 3 cups, saved 2. But the cursed 6th cup, flew straight toward Carter. The coffee hit the table in front of him, splashed upward like a decorative fountain, and landed on his white shirt. A brown stain spread across the flawless fabric like one of those ink-in-water videos. The entire room froze. Eloise's eyes widened, absolutely delighted by the disaster. And June? June went into full panic ramble mode. "God, no, this isn't happening. It's a nightmare. I'm gonna wake up. She dropped the tray on the table, grabbed every napkin in sight, and started scrubbing Carter's shirt frantically. I'm sorry. I swear it wasn't on purpose. My foot has a vendetta against me. It hates me. Probably because of that time I wore heels for 6 hours in June." His voice was calm, the kind of calm that belongs to someone trying very, very hard not to laugh. But she didn't hear him. She kept scrubbing, talking nonstop. "I'll pay for dry cleaning. I'll buy you a new shirt. I'll sell my kidney. Both kidneys. Who needs kidneys anyway? They're overrated." Carter took her hands, his hands, in hers, warm, steady, holding with the kind of gentleness that made her brain completely shut down. "Breathe," he said. And there was something in his eyes. Amusement? Kindness? Relaxing is part of professionalism, too. June looked down, at his fingers holding hers, at the coffee stain on his shirt, at the crumpled napkin in her hand. Both her eyes blinked, left, right, left. Perfect synchronization of emotional panic. I'm touching my boss," she whispered mostly to herself. "I'm touching the CEO. I spilled coffee on the CEO. That's definitely going on my resume under special skills, ruining expensive clothes of important people." Someone at the table laughed, a muffled laugh that turned into a cough. Carter gently released her hands, took the napkin, and wiped the stain with the calm of someone dusting off a shelf. "Accidents happen," he said. "With me, they're kind of a hobby," June muttered. He almost smiled. Almost. "Have a seat. The meeting's not over." June sat down. Like a robot running on low battery, she slumped into the chair, gripped the edge of the table, and tried to merge with the furniture. Eloise leaned closer and whispered loud enough for June to hear. "Interesting integration technique. Very wet." 2 people chuckled. June felt her face burn. But then Carter spoke again, still standing, straightening his tie as if nothing had happened. "Before we continue, I just want to remind everyone that operational mistakes are normal. Spilled coffee? Normal. Wrong slide? Normal." He looked directly at Eloise. Lack of empathy? Less normal, and less tolerated. Eloise's smile froze like a crashed computer screen. The room went silent. Carter went on as if he'd just commented on the weather, but June saw it. He looked at her again, quickly, and blinked. He blinked, on purpose. A silent, "It's okay, I get it." Her heart did 3 flips, 2 spins, and a somersault. No, no, you cannot develop a crush on your boss. That's corporate survival rule number 1. You just spilled coffee on him. Coffee. This isn't the start of a romance, it's the start of a lawsuit. But her left eye twitched again, softly, like an emotional whisper. And for the first time in her life, June wasn't sure if it was fear or something much more dangerous. When the meeting ended, June tried to disappear with the crowd, but Carter called out, "June, a moment." She froze. Turned slowly. Everyone else was gone, just the 2 of them. He took off his jacket, hung it over a chair, and looked at the coffee stain on his shirt like he was studying modern art. "You know what I realized?" he said, voice carrying that tone that usually meant something meaningful was coming. "That I'm a walking hazard and should wear a warning label?" He smiled. A real smile, one that reached his eyes. "That you're the only person in this company who treats everyone like a human being, including yourself." June blinked, both eyes this time, but not from nerves. From surprise? "I thank you," she said, because she had absolutely no idea what else to say. Carter picked up his jacket, slung it over his shoulder, and walked past her, stopped at the door, turned. "And June, next time you bring coffee, feel free to spill it again. At least that way I get to be close enough to know you better." And he left. June stayed there, gripping the edge of the table, staring at nothing. Processing, processing, processing. Then she looked up at the ceiling and whispered, "Universe, what are you doing to me?" Her eye twitched, and this time June knew. It wasn't fear, it was something that felt a lot like hope. June had one survival rule. When the universe gives you 24 hours of peace, brace yourself for the apocalypse. And today, staring at an email titled, "Urgent, International Call in 15 Minutes, she was certain the apocalypse had arrived wearing a suit and speaking 3 languages. She was in the restroom, practicing deep breathing like in a YouTube meditation video, when Eloise walked in with that smile that meant she'd just won the lottery of other people's misery. "June, what a coincidence." She handed her a red folder. "Mr. Bowmont needs you in the conference room. Call with Japanese investors. Here's the prep material." June flipped through it quickly, frowning. "This is in Korean?" "Oh, is it?" Eloise blinked like a soap opera actress playing innocent. "How odd. Well, good luck." She left, her heels clicking like the laughter of a cartoon villain. June looked at the folder, then at the mirror, then back at the folder. Her left eye twitched. "No, we do not have time for panic right now." She tossed the folder into the trash, splashed water on her face, and ran out like an action movie heroine with dramatic music playing in the background. The conference room was packed. A huge screen showed 5 Japanese executives on the other side of the call. Carter sat at the head of the table, posture sharp, like a general about to declare war. 3 company directors were seated nearby, all looking like they'd just taken Red Bull through an IV. June walked in, sweating like a marathon runner crossing the Sahara. Carter looked at her, then at his watch, then back at her. "You have the material?" "Absolutely," June lied, smiling the way an insurance salesperson smiles at a skeptical client. "Totally ready, 100%, full material, fully materialized." Her left eye twitched. "Please don't make me hand it over now, I'm begging you." Carter motioned for her to sit. June dropped into a chair, opened her laptop, then up and started frantically searching for anything that might help. The call began. The investors spoke in Japanese. The Zoom translator lagged 3 seconds behind. Carter answered in English. Everyone took notes that looked very important. And June was reading the contract on the shared screen, trying to understand why her stomach had just tied itself into an emotional pretzel. She read Clause 7.3. "Read it again, a 3rd time." Her left eye blinked. Hard, like a fire alarm. "No. Wait, that's not right." She checked the numbers, verified the exchange rate, did mental math at lightning speed, and then she saw it. A hidden clause transferring 15% of future profits to a fake subsidiary. A trap. A massive financial trap. Her right eye blinked. Then both eyes started blinking together, like a Christmas tree gone nuclear. June looked at Carter. He was calmly explaining 4th quarter projections, confident and composed. She had 2 choices. Stay silent and let the company lose millions, or interrupt the CEO mid-international negotiation and look completely insane. She took a breath, raised her hand. Everyone looked at her. Everyone, including the Japanese investors on the screen. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice 3 octaves higher than usual. "Really sorry, but there's a problem." Carter frowned. "Problem?" Clause 7.3. June pointed at the screen, her hand shaking like a leaf in a storm. "There's an automatic transfer of 15% of profits to a subsidiary that doesn't exist. I mean, it exists on paper, but it's not active. It's a trap." Silence, heavy enough to crush her. One of the directors leaned forward, checked the screen, and murmured, "She's right." Carter grabbed his tablet, zoomed in on the clause. Read it fast, his expression the definition of high-speed mental calculation. Then he looked at her, not angry, impressed. Like, "Who are you, and how did you see this?" He turned back to the screen and said, in fluent Japanese, because of course he spoke Japanese, "We need to revise clause 7.3 before proceeding." The investors exchanged glances. One of them replied quickly. Carter nodded, ended the call, and turned to the team. 15-minute break. June with me. Now. He left the room. June stood, legs wobbling like emotional jelly, and followed him. They entered his office, floor-to-ceiling glass, panoramic view of Seattle, and a mahogany desk that probably cost more than her entire college education. Carter closed the door, crossed his arms, and looked at her with the intensity of someone trying to decode an unsolvable puzzle. "How did you see that?" he asked. June shrugged, laughing nervously. "My eye. It blinks when there's trouble. Like an emotional detector for financial disasters. I know it sounds crazy. I swear I'm not some kind of corporate medium. But I saw the number, my stomach screamed danger, and then my eye went into flashlight mode. And June." She stopped talking, breathed. Carter took 2 steps closer. "Very close. You just saved this company from losing $8.2 million. Her brain shut down, rebooted, shut down again. What? 8.2 million? He smiled, a real smile. The kind that reached his eyes and made her heart do 3 somersaults. "In 15 minutes you did what 3 lawyers couldn't do in 2 weeks. June felt her cheeks burn. "I just read fast, and my eye has emotional Wi-Fi, and I watch a lot of crime shows, so spotting red flags kind of became a hobby." Carter laughed, a real laugh. Deep, warm, the kind that did strange things to her chest. "You're incredible," he said, voice low and sincere. "And I don't think you realize it." Both of June's eyes blinked, but not from nerves this time. From something that felt dangerously close to, "I'm in trouble, and I'm not sure I want out." Before she could say anything smart, or more likely something embarrassing, someone knocked on the door. Eloise walked in without waiting for a response, looked at June, then at Carter, and smiled like a cat that had just spotted a trapped mouse. "Sorry to interrupt, whatever this is." She glanced at June. "The call's about to resume." Carter nodded, but didn't take his eyes off June. "We'll finish this." And June was absolutely sure of one thing. He wasn't just talking about the negotiation. June had a theory. Corporate lunches were battlefields disguised as salad buffets. And today, sitting at a corner table with a tray of food that looked like it had been prepared by someone having an existential crisis, she got absolute proof of that theory. Eloise sat 3 tables ahead, surrounded by a group of assistants laughing at every word she said like it was a world-class comedy act. And June? June was talking to her fork. "See that?" she whispered to the utensil. "That's what we call a strategic alliance to destroy the new girl. Very subtle, very elegant, very, I'll ruin you, but with a toothpaste commercial smile." The fork didn't respond, but June was sure it agreed. She was chewing a lettuce leaf that tasted like gourmet tissue paper when she noticed Eloise had stood up and was walking toward her. Her left eye blinked. "No," June muttered, gripping the fork like a self-defense weapon. "Not today, corporate evil. I just saved $8.2 million. I have diplomatic immunity." But Eloise arrived, pulled out the chair next to June with a smile that never reached her eyes, and sat down like she was posing for the cover of Successful Villains Monthly. "June, what a coincidence seeing you here." She grabbed an apple from June's tray and took a bite, Snow White style, if Snow White were terrifying. "I heard you were heroic today." "I just read a contract," June said, trying to sound casual but coming off more like a nervous squirrel hiding a nut. Eloise tilted her head, studying June like a scientist examining bacteria. "You know what else I heard? That you have a little tick." She blinked. Overly exaggerated, both eyes. 3 times. A very interesting blink. June's stomach dropped like an elevator without brakes. It's allergies? She lied, forcing a laugh. Corporate pollen. Very common in environments with too much air conditioning and ambition. Eloise smiled, and then, loud enough for the entire cafeteria to hear, she said, "Guys, have you noticed? June blinks like a broken traffic light when she's nervous." She imitated it again, blinking wildly like a malfunctioning cartoon character. "It's so cute. Like a frightened puppy." 3 people laughed. Then 5. Then the entire table. June felt her face burn. Her heart dropped into her stomach, did a somersault, and decided to move permanently into her left knee. Both eyes blinked, together, like a Morse code for "please let me vanish." She tried to laugh along, like, "Haha, yeah, so funny," but the sound came out more like a deflating tire. "It's true," someone said. "She blinks a lot. Must be some kind of anxiety thing," another added. "Or a neurological issue," a third voice suggested, and June wished she could bury her head inside the salad bowl and disappear. Eloise stood up, gave June a pat on the shoulder, the universal sign for "poor thing," and walked back to her table with that runway strut that screamed mission accomplished. June sat alone, still holding her fork, watching the world collapse in slow motion like a sad movie scene without music. She took a deep breath, tried not to cry, counted to 10, and then a deep voice cut through the noise. "Mind if I sit here?" She looked up. Carter, standing there with a tray, navy suit, tie slightly loosened, looking at her like an anchor in the middle of a storm. "You here?" June stammered because her brain had officially shut down. "Don't you usually have lunch in like a VIP room with a view of the universe and your own waiter?" He sat down, without asking, without caring about the curious looks now coming from every table. "I prefer interesting company," he said, opening his salad container like it was the most normal thing in the world. The entire cafeteria went silent. The kind of silence you only hear in churches, or funerals, or right after something unbelievable happens. Eloise froze, corporate version of a salt statue. Carter picked up his fork, took a bite of grilled chicken, and then turned to June. "You okay? I guess?" She lied, smiling like a sad clown, pretending everything was fine. He looked at her, really looked, like an emotional X-ray. "Liar." June sighed, set her fork down, and whispered, "They laughed at me, I know. Because of the blinking. I know." She looked down, poking at her salad like she could dig an escape tunnel through the plate. "It's ridiculous, isn't it, having an involuntary emotional detector? Like a useless superpower. Look, I blink when there's a problem. So helpful. They should call me to join the Justice League." Carter set his fork down, took a slow breath, and did something June did not expect. He stood up, in the middle of the cafeteria, in front of everyone, and said, in that CEO voice that made entire rooms go silent, "Can I say something?" Every head turned, all of them. Like a theater audience waiting for a monologue, June wanted to melt, become a puddle, evaporate. But Carter went on. "Everyone here has value." He looked around the room, meeting every gaze. "Each person brings their own skills, their own traits, their own quirks." Pause. "And if someone can't see that," he blinked on purpose, both eyes, a perfect imitation of what Eloise had done earlier. They blink. 2 seconds of silence. Then someone laughed, then another. And soon the entire table. But they weren't laughing at June. They were laughing with her. With him. Eloise turned red, tomato red, stoplight red, humiliation red. Carter sat back down, picked up his fork, and kept eating like he hadn't just become the romantic hero of a corporate movie. June stared at him, mouth open, brain rebooting like an old computer. You just... She couldn't finish the sentence. He looked at her and smiled, a small, private smile meant only for her. "No one laughs at you while I'm around." Her heart did 3 somersaults, 2 flips, 1 dramatic dive, and decided to permanently relocate to the left side of her chest, where it was closer to him. Both eyes blinked. But not from fear, not from shame, from something that felt a lot like, "I'm completely lost and have no idea what to do with this." June swallowed hard, tried to speak, and what came out was, "Thank you." Carter nodded, stood, and before walking away, leaned close enough for her to catch the scent of his cologne, something between polished wood and smart decisions. "Keep blinking, June," he murmured. "I like when you do that." And then he left. June froze, like a statue, a mannequin, a video game character that just glitched mid-scene. She looked at her fork and whispered, He likes when I blink? What does that even mean? Is that flirting? Kindness? Or some kind of job offer to be a human fraud detector? The fork didn't answer, but her left eye twitched. And June knew one thing for sure. She was in trouble. June had a new survival rule. When the billionaire CEO says he likes it when you blink, you spend the next 72 hours avoiding anything that might make you blink. Which basically meant avoiding breathing, thinking, or existing anywhere near him. Mission impossible. Because Carter Bowmont had developed a disturbing habit of appearing everywhere, like a corporate genie no one had summoned, but who showed up anyway. She was in the archives, searching for a 2019 contract, when she heard that deep voice behind her. Looking for something? June jumped. Literally, like a cat startled by a cucumber. Corporate Jesus, she yelled, spinning around and nearly dropping 3 folders. You appear out of nowhere. Use a bell, a horn, or those shoes that make horse noises. Carter tried not to laugh. Almost succeeded. Sorry, executive habit. We learn to walk quietly so we can catch employees watching cat videos. I was working, June protested, rearranging the folders with wounded dignity, looking for a contract. Very serious, very professional, 0 cats involved. He stepped closer, too close, reached up to the shelf above her head and pulled out the file she'd been searching for, leaving her trapped between him and the cabinet like the filling in a corporate sandwich. This one? He asked, voice low. That smooth, deep tone sent a strange shiver down her spine. Her left eye blinked. No, we had a deal, exemplary behavior only. Yes, she managed, taking the folder with a shaky hand and trying not to notice that he smelled like expensive wood and intelligent decisions. Carter didn't step back. Your eye just blinked. Allergies, June blurted out way too fast. Archive dust. Very common, silent epidemic. They should really start a campaign about it. He smiled, the kind of smile that said he knew she was lying, and found it adorable. Funny. It only happens when I'm close. Her brain froze, completely crashed. That's coincidence? Statistics? Local weather phenomenon? June. Yes? Are you nervous? No, she replied, her voice 3 octaves higher than usual. Totally calm. Zen. Like a Buddhist monk on a spiritual retreat. Her right eye twitched, then both eyes blinked together. Synchronized betrayal. Carter laughed, a real laugh. The kind that made her chest tighten in a way that absolutely shouldn't feel good, but did. All right, he said, finally stepping back and giving her space to breathe. I'll let you and your eyes have a private conversation. And he left. June collapsed on the file room floor, holding the folder and staring at the ceiling. She whispered. We need to talk. Seriously, you're sabotaging me. On purpose. With intent, the eye blinked. I knew you were doing this deliberately. 3 hours later, June was in the break room, making coffee like a mad scientist, brewing a dangerous potion, when Carter walked in again. Him. Again. Are you following me? She asked, turning around with a coffee spoon in hand like it was a weapon. Some kind of emotional GPS? CEO tracking system? The break room's for everyone, he said, grabbing a mug. But I can leave if you'd prefer some privacy with the coffee machine. No, June blurted out way too fast, then realized what she'd said. I mean, it's your break room, technically. You bought it. You can do whatever you want, including ignoring me. Which would be great. Very professional. Carter stepped closer, reaching for the sugar that was conveniently right beside her, and June had to hold her breath, because he was close. Again, why would I ignore you? He asked, his tone holding a note of curiosity. Because I'm the temporary assistant who spilled coffee on you and blinks like a malfunctioning Christmas light. Exactly, he said, stirring his coffee slowly without looking away. You're the most interesting person in this entire building. Her heart did 3 somersaults, 2 flips, and decided to move permanently into her throat. What? You heard me. I did, but my brain's in denial mode right now, probably caffeine-induced hallucination. Carter smiled, then did something June did not expect. He took the coffee spoon from her hand, his fingers brushing against hers, and added sugar to his mug with the kind of calm that made her temperature rise. That blinking, he said quietly. Is it fear or something else? June opened her mouth, closed it, opened again like a fish trying to process deep philosophical questions. Are you interviewing me about my eye? Because I can prepare a PowerPoint with graphs, blink statistics, emotional breakdowns by frequency. Just answer, he said softly, his voice low again, low enough to raise the temperature of the entire room by 15 degrees. Her left eye blinked, gently, almost like a whisper. If it were fear, June admitted, blushing red enough to rival a tomato, both eyes would be blinking, like an emergency signal. Full panic mode. And when it's just one eye, she swallowed hard. It means my body's feeling something my brain hasn't caught up with yet. Silence. Heavy silence. The kind that happens in movies right before the kiss. Carter took one step closer. Close enough for June to notice the faint gold flecks in his blue eyes. June, the break room door burst open. Eloise walked in, smiling like a soap opera villain who'd just interrupted the most important moment. "Oh, sorry to interrupt, whatever this is." She turned to June. "The supplier meeting started. You're supposed to be there." June blinked, both eyes, hard, like saying, "Thank you, universe, for saving me from doing something I definitely wanted to do, but absolutely shouldn't." "On my way," she said, grabbing her cup and leaving like Sonic escaping emotional chaos. But before stepping out, she looked back. Carter was still standing there watching her, with that expression of someone who'd just realized something important and wasn't sure if it was good or bad. And June knew one thing for sure. She was completely lost. That night, June lay in bed staring at the ceiling, talking to her pillow. He asked about the blinking. He asked, "Is that flirting? Curiosity? Or does he want to study me like a rare medical case?" The pillow didn't answer, but she could swear it was confused too. And he got close, really close. Like, "Hi, invading your personal space with emotional permission." Close. And I let him. Worse, I liked it. She turned on her side, hugging the pillow. "I'm in trouble. Serious trouble. Like this will end badly, but I don't care kind of trouble." Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. She opened it. "Your eye gave you away, but so did mine. Sleep well, June. C." June dropped the phone like it was about to explode, screamed into her pillow, and both eyes blinked. Together. Complete surrender. June had a theory. Text messages sent after 11 p.m. should come with a warning label. Danger. Emotionally devastating content. Especially when they came from the billionaire CEO who had just admitted that his eyes gave him away too. She spent the entire night staring at the ceiling, like an astronaut trying to decode a constellation that didn't exist. And when she finally fell asleep, she dreamed she was in a meeting where everyone blinked in perfect sync, like some kind of corporate flash mob. She woke up with dark circles that looked like they'd been painted by a gothic horror artist. "Perfect," she muttered at the mirror, dabbing concealer like she was plastering a wall. Nothing says professional, like a face that spent all night analyzing an emotional text from a boss who really shouldn't be texting his employee at midnight. Her left eye twitched. "We're not on the same team anymore," she hissed at her reflection. "You got me into this mess. You and your useless emotional radar." She arrived at the office at 7:53, 7 minutes early, courtesy of anxiety, and found Carter standing in the hallway, holding 2 coffee cups like a romantic movie character who had rehearsed the scene. "Good morning," he said, offering her one. June looked at the cup, then at him, then back at the cup. "This is for me, or are you testing if I can hold hot liquids without triggering a national emergency?" "Both," he replied, a small smile tugging at his lips, "but mostly the first." She took the cup carefully, like it was a trophy, sniffed it, and her eyes widened. "Caramel with cinnamon. How do you know that?" "I pay attention." Her heart did 3 somersaults, 2 flips, and a full Olympic routine. "That's sweet? Creepy? Maybe both? Because I'm not sure how to process a boss who remembers his temp assistant's coffee order." Carter shrugged, taking a sip of his own. "You're not temporary." "Technically." "June." His tone shifted, steady, sincere, a kind of emotional X-ray. "You saved this company twice in 1 week. You're part of the team, permanently, if you want to be." Both her eyes blinked, fast, panicked Morse code for "What do I do with this information?" Yes," she said, because her brain had clearly powered down and the autopilot had taken over. Like, yes, not polite yes, capital letters, 3 exclamation marks, yes. He smiled, a real one. The kind that reached his eyes and did something dangerously warm inside her chest. "Good, because I need your help with something." "International contract, financial crisis, alien invasion in the corporate sector?" "Worse." He paused dramatically. "Charity gala tonight, formal dinner, boring speeches, people pretending to like each other." June laughed like he was joking, until she realized he wasn't. Wait, you want me to go? As in, me? The girl who trips over rugs and spills coffee on executives? Exactly, you keep me grounded. Her left eye twitched softly. Is this a work request, or something else? Can it be both? He asked, voice dropping low, the kind of low that raised the hallway temperature by 15 degrees. Before June could say anything remotely intelligent, or more likely embarrassing, Eloise's voice echoed down the hall. Mr. Beaumont, the 8 o'clock meeting has started. Carter sighed, the kind of sigh movie characters give when they're interrupted at the worst possible moment. We'll talk later, he said, and June swore she saw frustration in his eyes. He left. June stood alone in the hallway, holding her coffee, processing. He invited me to an event, she whispered to the cup. Like, invited, fancy clothes, important people, and me. In the same place, what could go wrong? Everything. Absolutely everything. The coffee didn't answer, but June was pretty sure it was worried too. 6 hours later, June was in the company restroom, staring at the simple black dress she'd bought in a lunch break panic, spending half her paycheck in the process, when Carter knocked on the door. June? You okay? Perfect, she yelled, wrestling with a zipper that had chosen to jam halfway up her back. Totally under control, very calm, extremely zen. Silence. Can I come in? It's the ladies' room, she answered, yanking the zipper like an MMA fighter attempting a final move. You can't. Oop. The zipper caught skin. June? She opened the door, pure surrender. Carter looked at her, at the half-zipped dress, at her flushed face, then stepped inside and closed the door behind him. Turn around, he said, his voice calm. This is extremely unprofessional, June muttered, but obeyed, because the zipper had officially become her mortal enemy. She felt his fingers on the zipper. Gentle, careful, moving slowly. Breathe, he said softly, and that's when June realized she'd stopped breathing entirely. She inhaled, loudly, like a balloon deflating. The zipper slid up, inch by inch, and June became acutely aware of his hands on her back, the warmth seeping through the fabric, and how this felt way more intimate than any corporate situation had the right to be. There, he said, but didn't move away. June turned. Slowly. They were close. The kind of close that happens right before a movie kiss. Thank you, she whispered. Carter looked at her as if memorizing every detail. You look beautiful. Her brain shut down, rebooted, then shut down again. I'm sweating like a marathon runner and just lost a fight with a zipper. That's not exactly the definition of beautiful. To me, it is. He took a step closer, so close June could count the golden flecks in his blue eyes. June, I need to tell you something. Her heart stopped. Good or bad? Honest. He drew a deep breath, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked vulnerable. I don't trust easily. Never have. I lost someone 3 years ago, someone who made me believe vulnerability was weakness. June felt her chest tighten. Carter, but you, he said with a faint, almost sad smile, you showed up blinking like a warning light, spilling coffee, talking to yourself, and somehow you made me want to try again. Both her eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to do with that, she admitted, voice trembling. Because I don't trust easily either. I spent my whole life thinking my emotional detector was a flaw. That being sensitive was weakness. And now you're saying that it's your greatest strength. He finished. Silence. Beautiful, heavy, full of everything neither dared to say. Carter lifted his hand, slowly, carefully, and touched her face, the kind of touch that treats what it holds as something precious. June closed her eyes. Both eyes twitched beneath her lids, a total emotional betrayal. Your eye blinked, he whispered, amusement in his voice. I know, she said, half laughing, half crying. It has a mind of its own. It's basically the third character in this story. Carter laughed, a real one, warm, deep, and leaned closer, so close June could feel his breath. And then, the bathroom door burst open. June, the car is... Eloise froze, looked at them, at June's teary eyes, at Carter's hand still on her face. Waiting. Carter stepped back, slowly, like someone waking up from a good dream. We'll be right there, he said, voice steady, CEO mode fully reactivated. Eloise left, with a smile that said she had just found very valuable information. June looked at Carter. Carter looked at her. We almost, she started. I know. And now she's going to tell everyone and... Let her, he said, taking her hand. Let her tell everyone. He laced his fingers through hers, like a silent confession. June looked down at their intertwined hands and whispered, "I'm in so much trouble." Carter smiled. "So am I." June had a theory. Corporate gossip traveled faster than high-speed Wi-Fi. And 3 days after the almost kiss in the bathroom and the charity event where Carter had held her hand the entire evening like a public declaration of, "Yes, she's with me," the rumor had evolved into a full-blown corporate legend. She was in the break room, preparing coffee as part of her survival ritual, when she overheard 2 assistants whispering near the water cooler. "I heard she's using him to climb the corporate ladder." "You mean gold digger style?" "Classic." And he fell for it. Poor guy. Powerful men always fall for the same line. June froze, like a human statue holding a paper cup. Her left eye blinked. But not the right one. She waited. 3 seconds. 5. 10. Nothing. The right eye stayed still. Completely still, like the battery had died and no one told her. And that terrified her more than any rumor ever could. Because when both eyes stopped blinking, it meant one thing: real danger. The kind that says, your emotional radar just gave up on you. She dropped the coffee, walked out of the break room like a zombie in existential crisis, and went straight to the restroom. She locked the door, stared at the mirror. "I," she whispered, tapping her left eyelid like she was trying to restart faulty equipment. "I, wake up. We've got a problem. I need you. Don't leave me now." Nothing. Not a single blink. "Okay," she said, voice trembling. "I get it. You quit. My own body quit on me. Wonderful. Great. Perfect. What's next? My heart stops out of sympathy?" She took a deep breath, looked at her reflection, and made the most sensible and simultaneously the most terrible decision of her life. Leave. Before she became a problem. Before she ruined his reputation. Before she proved everything Eloise had been spreading. 15 minutes later, June was in the elevator, holding a cardboard box with her 3 pens, a notebook, and the mug she'd bought on her first day. The one that said, "Coffee, because adulting is hard." The doors started to close. A hand appeared. "Stop them. Open them again." Carter stepped in, looking like an action movie character who'd just sprinted up 3 floors. He looked at her, at the box, at her face. The "I just made a terrible decision, but I'm pretending to be fine" face. "You're leaving," he said. It wasn't a question. It was a statement, the kind you make when you've just found the bug in the code. "I have to," June said, staring at the floor because looking at him hurt. Like staring at the sun without sunglasses. "It's better this way." "Better for who?" "For you." She burst out, her voice jumping 3 octaves higher than usual. "You've heard what they're saying, right? That I'm a gold digger. That I'm using you. That I'm a problem. And you know what's worse? My eye didn't blink. Not once. And that never happens. That means I'm in real danger. Or maybe I am the danger. And I won't let you become a joke because of me." Carter pressed the emergency button. The elevator stopped. Like in those movie scenes where the main characters decide now is the time for the big conversation. "June, look at me." "No." "Look." She looked, and almost broke down because he had that expression, the one people get right after an emotional punch to the stomach. "You really think I care about gossip?" he asked, taking a step toward her. "You think I, Carter Bowmont, CEO of a billion-dollar company, can't tell the difference between manipulation and—" He paused, took a breath. "Someone who makes me want to be a better person?" Her heart did 3 somersaults and dropped like an elevator in free fall. "Carter, you made me laugh for the first time in 3 years." He went on, voice lower now, almost a confession. "You showed up blinking like an emergency light, spilling coffee, talking to yourself, saving deals, and somehow you reminded me that feeling something isn't weakness." Her eyes filled with tears like a dam about to burst. "But what if they're right?" she whispered. "What if I am the problem? What if my emotional radar's broken and I can't tell anymore?" "Your radar isn't broken," Carter cut in, taking the box from her hands and setting it down like it didn't matter. "It's just trying to protect you. The way it always has." "Protect me from what? From getting hurt?" He stepped closer. So close, June could see every detail in his blue eyes. "Because feeling something real is scary. And you're feeling it. I know you are. The same way I am, and I've been pretending this is just professional." June let out a half-laugh, half-sob. "We're terrible at pretending." "Awful," he agreed, a small smile tugging at his lips. "But you know what I've realized? I don't want to pretend anymore." Silence. Heavy silence. The kind that happens right before the kiss everyone's been waiting for. And then it happened. June's left eye blinked, softly, like an emotional whisper saying, "It's okay, you can trust this." She laughed, tears still in her eyes but lighter now. "My eyes back," she whispered. It approved you." Carter smiled. A real smile, the kind that reached his eyes and made the whole world feel a little less terrifying. "I'm honored," he said, taking her hand, "to be approved by the most accurate emotional detector I know." June intertwined her fingers with his, holding on like an anchor. Like, if I let go, I'll sink. "So what now?" she asked. "Now." Carter pressed the button to restart the elevator. "You go back to your place, which is here, with me, and we face every rumor, every Eloise, every single thing together." The elevator started moving again. The doors opened on her floor. And Eloise was standing right there, like a soap opera villain who smelled drama and came to watch. She looked at June, then at Carter, then at their intertwined fingers, and smiled. The kind of smile that tastes like sugar-coated poison. "What a touching scene," she said sweetly. "Too bad the board won't find it quite so romantic." Carter released June's hand, took a step toward Eloise, and spoke in that CEO tone that made entire rooms stop breathing. "The board answers to me, not the other way around. And if anyone has a problem with my choices," he looked straight into her eyes, "they can bring it to me personally. I love honest conversations." Eloise turned bright red, like a tomato, or a bell pepper having an existential crisis. She turned and walked away, her heels clicking against the floor in what now sounded like a strategic retreat. June looked at Carter like, "Did you seriously just do that?" He shrugged. "I told you, no one laughs at you while I'm around." And in that moment, June knew one thing for sure. She had fallen. Completely. Like a free fall without a parachute. And for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of where she'd land. June had a theory. When you decide to emotionally distance yourself from someone, the universe turns your life into a sitcom episode where that person shows up everywhere. Like a polite corporate invasion with blue eyes and the scent of expensive wood. 3 days after the elevator showdown with Eloise, June was at the grocery store at 10 p.m., emotional insomnia shopping, wearing a hoodie like a failed spy in disguise, when she heard his voice behind her. "Chocolate ice cream at 10 at night. Let me guess, emotional escape or celebration?" June froze, clutching the Ben & Jerry's like a weapon of frozen self-defense. She turned, slowly. Carter was standing there, in jeans. Simple black t-shirt, hair slightly messy like he'd just woken up or walked out of a men's shampoo commercial. "Are you following me?" she demanded, gripping the ice cream tighter. "Like a billionaire stalker? Because I watch Criminal Minds. I know the signs." He tried not to laugh. Almost succeeded. "I live 3 blocks from here, and I need food too. Believe it or not, CEOs eat." "Prove it," June said, folding her arms. "Show me your cart." Carter turned his cart around. Inside, instant noodles, 2 tubs of ice cream, chocolate same as hers, frozen pizza, and marshmallows. June's eyes widened. "You eat instant noodles? The billionaire CEO eats broke college food? At 10 p.m.? "Absolutely." He took the ice cream from her hand, dropped it into his cart, and added a 3rd one. "And you clearly need reinforcements. Hey, that was my emotional escape ice cream. Now it's our ice cream for a much-needed conversation." Carter pushed the cart toward the checkout, casually kidnapping dessert. June stood there processing for 2 full seconds, then ran after him, like a confused puppy chasing its owner who just stole its favorite toy. 15 minutes later, they were sitting in the empty parking lot, on the back of his truck, because apparently he owned a truck, eating ice cream straight from the tub, like 2 teenagers in a shared existential crisis. "Okay," June said, spoon in her mouth, staring at the stars. "Explain. Why are you here? Really, I've been trying to give you space so you don't become a corporate meme because of me." Carter took a bite, thought for a moment, then said quietly, "You know what happened 3 years ago?" June turned to him, waiting. "I was engaged," he said. "Samantha. We were together for 5 years. The wedding was planned, and 2 weeks before, she told me she'd said yes because I was a good investment. Not because she loved me. Because I was convenient." June's heart tightened, like someone had stepped on it, wearing high heels. "Carter, I built walls after that." His voice was calm, but his eyes carried an old kind of pain. "Tall ones, with emotional barbed wire and a sign that said keep out. And it worked. For 3 years. Until you showed up, blinking like an emergency light and spilling coffee on me. June laughed through what sounded suspiciously like a sob. I have a talent for destroying emotional defenses through physical disasters. Should probably add that to my resume. June. Carter set the ice cream aside and turned fully toward her. You're not Samantha. You're not after anything. You're nothing like what Eloise has been saying. And I know that. Not because I'm naive, but because I recognize manipulation. I spent 3 years studying every micro-expression, every word, every motive. And you, he gave a small, almost sad smile, you're transparent. Like glass. Terrible at hiding emotions. And that's exactly why I trust you. Both of her eyes filled instantly, like a dam breaking. That's the sweetest and most embarrassing thing anyone's ever said to me. Like, you're bad at lying. Congratulations. Carter laughed, really laughed, and took her hand. I came after you because you're running. And I get running. I did it for 3 years. But you know what I learned? Running doesn't protect you. It just delays everything. June looked down at his hand holding hers, their fingers intertwined. It felt right, like a puzzle piece finally snapping into place. And what if I mess it all up? She whispered. What if my emotional radar fails, and I don't even notice I'm hurting you? And... Impossible, he interrupted, gently squeezing her fingers. You know why? Because you feel too much. You blink when something's wrong. You talk to yourself when you're processing emotion. You spill coffee when you're nervous. You're like a walking emotional alarm. And that makes me feel safe. For the first time in 3 years, June broke down, the ugly kind of crying. Indie movie level crying. No flattering lighting, just raw emotion. I'm crying in a grocery store parking lot, eating ice cream out of the trunk, she said between laughs and sobs. This is straight out of a low-budget romantic comedy. Best scene I've ever lived, Carter said, pulling her into his arms, and June sank against his chest. Like an anchor finally finding a safe harbor. They stayed that way, holding each other, in the empty parking lot, with 3 pints of melting ice cream beside them, until June whispered against his chest. My eye blinked. I know, I felt it. Both eyes blinked. I felt that too. She pulled back slightly, looked up, and found his blue eyes close, very close. And now? She asked. Carter smiled, the kind of smile that comes after a big decision. Now, I stop being afraid, and you stop running, and we figure this out together, with blinking, spilled coffee, and whatever chaos comes next. June smiled, tear-stained but happy. Deal. But if I throw ice cream at you, it's the universe's fault. I'll take that risk. Then he leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. But she didn't. She met him halfway, and the kiss was gentle, sweet, like melted chocolate ice cream, like a quiet promise, like saying, we have time, there's no rush. When they finally pulled apart, June whispered, my eye didn't blink. Good sign? Excellent sign. Means my emotional radar officially approved. She laughed softly. Congratulations. You just passed the hardest test of my life. Carter kissed her forehead, pulled her close again, and June knew with absolute certainty she'd stopped running. And for the first time, everything felt right. The next morning, June walked into the office smiling like a toothpaste commercial. Eloise stared at her like she'd just seen a happy ghost. You're smiling? She asked as if accusing her of a crime. I am, June replied, grabbing her coffee. Beautiful day, isn't it? Full of possibilities. And ice cream, especially ice cream. Eloise frowned, completely lost on the plot. Then Carter walked by, stopped beside June, and said loud enough for everyone to hear. Meeting at 2. You're with me. We have a contract to review. And he winked. On purpose. Just for her. June had a theory. The universe had impeccable timing for drama. Like a soap opera writer who waits for the couple to finally kiss before dropping an emotional bomb. And today, 3 days after that parking lot kiss that had completely dismantled her emotional defenses, the bomb arrived, via email, with the subject line, International Crisis, everyone in the conference room in 10 minutes. She was in the bathroom, practicing deep breathing like a meditation video, when her reflection decided to chime in. See? We had 3 days of happiness. 3! The universe only allows that much before throwing an emotional meteor at our faces. Her left eye blinked. Don't look at me like that. You know I'm right. We kissed the CEO, the billionaire CEO. That comes with consequences, like a contract no one read before signing. She straightened her blouse, tried to look professional and failed, and walked out like a soldier heading into battle, armed only with a pen and chronic anxiety. The conference room looked like a disaster movie set. 15 executives running in every direction, 3 screens flashing charts in bright red, because of course they were red, and Carter at the center, standing like a general about to declare war, except instead of tanks he had a tablet, and the expression of a man praying someone competent would fix this. When June entered, he looked at her like a sailor spotting land in the middle of a storm. "June, thank God." He motioned for her to sit beside him. "We have a problem." "Spilled coffee level or financial apocalypse level?" she asked, opening her laptop like a hacker in an action movie. "Japanese investors found a hidden clause in another contract and now think we tried to deceive them level." Carter ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that screamed controlled panic. "They're about to cancel everything, $82 million in deals, unless we prove good faith in—" He checked his watch. 43 minutes. June felt her stomach drop like an elevator with a cut cable. 43 minutes to save $82 million. No pressure. Totally fine. I'll just have a quick panic attack and be right back. Carter took her hand under the table. Quick, subtle, the kind of secret gesture that said, "I trust you. You've got this. I know you do." Her left eye twitched softly. "All right, emotional radar activated. Time to save the day." 20 minutes later, June was buried in 3 different contracts, comparing clauses like a detective searching for clues in a corporate crime scene when she found it. A tiny footnote. Font size 8. PO uses font 8 in a legal contract. It explained that the so-called hidden clause was actually standard across all of the company's international agreements since 2019. She jumped from her chair like an Olympic athlete breaking a world record. "Found it!" she shouted, and the entire room turned. "Found the proof? Clause 7.9, footnote 17, font size 8, because apparently we hate eyesight. It's right here. The clause is standard. It's in every contract since 2019. They've signed the exact same version 3 times before." Carter stood up like a rocket launch. "Are you sure?" Left eye blinked once. "That's confidence level. Bet the company on it." She turned her screen to show him. "See? 2019 contract, identical clause. 2021, same thing. They knew. This isn't fraud. It's just," she paused dramatically, "corporate tantrum caused by ignorance." One of the directors checked, confirmed, and nodded. "She's right. Completely right." The room erupted in relief, like a concert crowd realizing the band's coming back for an encore. Carter looked at June like he was witnessing a miracle in human form. "You just saved $82 million. He glanced at his watch. "In 23 minutes. June shrugged, trying to look casual but failing miserably because she was grinning like a toothpaste commercial. "I read fast, and I have a weird thing for footnotes. Strange hobby, I know, but today it paid off." Eloise, who had been silent the entire time, finally spoke, her voice 3 tones lower than usual. "How did you even see that?" June turned to her, and for the first time since she'd joined the company, answered with total confidence. "Because I pay attention to everything, even the things that seem too small to matter." She smiled. "It's kind of an annoying superpower, but it works." The call with the investors was nothing short of triumphant. Carter presented the evidence. June explained, in English and basic Japanese she'd learned from watching anime. But hey, it worked. And not only did the investors keep the deal, they increased their investment by $12 million, saying, "Attention to detail and transparency deserve reward." When the call ended, the whole room applauded. And June? She just sat there, processing, like a computer running on emotional lag, until Carter pulled her to her feet and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Juniper Hale, officially promoted to Senior International Contracts Analyst, with a salary increase, your own office, and my eternal gratitude for being the most brilliant person who's ever worked here." Her jaw dropped. Literally, like a cartoon character whose mouth hits the floor. What? My own office? Like, with a door? Maybe even a fake plant so I can look like a responsible adult? With a door, with the plant, whatever you want. Carter smiled, the kind of smile that reached his eyes and made her heart do a full Olympic routine again. "You deserve it." The team applauded once more. Someone brought champagne at 10 in the morning, but no one cared. Eloise stormed out like a defeated thundercloud. And June? She looked at Carter and whispered, "My eye didn't twitch once during the presentation." "I know, I noticed." He leaned slightly closer. "You know what that means? That my emotional radar finally trusts me? That you finally trust yourself." He touched her hand. Quick, subtle, and I always did. Both her eyes filled with tears, like a dam bursting with joy. And then Eloise returned, stopped at the door, and said in a strangely calm voice, "June, someone's in the lobby asking for you. Says it's urgent." June's left eye twitched, hard, like an emotional fire alarm. She looked at Carter. He looked at her. And both had the same thought. This can't be good. June had a theory: when your emotional radar blinks like a fire alarm in the middle of a perfect day, it's because the universe decided prolonged happiness violates some unspoken cosmic law. And today, standing in the lobby, staring at the woman in a beige suit who was definitely not a friendly visitor, she was absolutely sure that theory was correct. The woman had flawless blonde hair, straight out of a shampoo commercial, the posture of someone who had never doubted herself, and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. A smile that looked a lot like a shark wearing Chanel. "You must be Juniper," the woman said, extending her hand like a queen granting an audience. "Samantha Lockwood, Carter's ex-fiancée." June's brain shut down, rebooted, froze again, like an old computer trying to open 20 tabs at once. You're the Samantha?" she stammered, shaking Samantha's hand like a malfunctioning robot. "The one he mentioned? The one from the human investment thing?" Samantha's smile sharpened. "I see he told you his version. How sweet." She released June's hand and glanced around the reception area as if she were evaluating a property to buy. "Can we talk? Privately? I think you deserve to hear a few truths." June's left eye blinked. Then the right, then both together, in perfect maximum alert sync. I have a meeting," June lied, stepping back. "Very important, about contracts and numbers. Serious things that definitely can't wait." 5 minutes, Samantha insisted, resting a deceptively gentle hand on her arm. "I promise it'll be worth your time." 3 minutes later, June was sitting in the lobby cafe, holding a cup of coffee like an emotional shield, while Samantha stirred her green tea with the calm precision of a movie villain about to reveal her master plan. "Let me guess," Samantha began, smiling like a cat that had just cornered its prey. "He told you I was the gold digger, that I only wanted his money, that I broke his heart." "He mentioned something like that," June admitted, gripping the cup as if she could absorb its warmth to fight the chill crawling up her spine. Samantha laughed, a carefully performed soap opera kind of laugh. "Of course he did. You know what he didn't tell you? That he was obsessed with work. That he canceled our wedding 3 times because of important meetings. That he made me feel like a decorative piece of furniture in his life." She leaned forward, lowering her voice, and when I finally ended it, he rewrote the story to make himself the victim. June's stomach twisted into an emotional pretzel. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I saw the photos. The charity event. The way he looks at you." Samantha smiled like someone who had just won an argument. "I recognize that look. It's the same one he used to give me before I became the background in his life." June felt the world tilt as if the floor had turned to jelly. I need to go," she said, standing like a zombie in existential crisis. "Just one more thing." Samantha opened her purse, pulled out an envelope, and placed it on the table. "Photos. Every time he left me waiting. Every promise he broke. Every dinner he canceled." She slid the envelope toward June. "For when you realize you're becoming me." And she left, heels clicking across the floor like the countdown of an emotional time bomb. June sat frozen, staring at the envelope, the coffee, the ceiling. Both eyes blinked like an emergency light in panic mode. "No," she whispered to the cup. No. We are not falling for the surprise X with a dramatic envelope trope. That's cliché number 1 in bad movies." But her hand reached for the envelope anyway. She opened it. Inside were photos. Samantha alone in fancy restaurants. Samantha crying in a car. Text messages from Carter. "Sorry, meeting ran late. Sap can't make it tonight. Work emergency." June's chest tightened. "This doesn't mean anything," she murmured, tucking the photos back in like evidence from a crime scene. "People change. He said he changed. He showed me he changed." But Samantha's voice echoed in her mind like an annoying psalm on repeat. For when you realize you're becoming me. When June returned to the office, the entire team was gathered in the conference room. Eloise stood at the front, tablet in hand, smiling like someone about to drop breaking news. Everyone, she announced, her tone sugary sweet with a hint of poison. I just received reliable information that our dear June had a very interesting meeting today with Mr. Beaumont's ex-fiancée. The room froze. June felt 15 pairs of eyes turned toward her, like interrogation spotlights. She showed up, June stammered, her voice 3 octaves higher than usual. I didn't ask her to show up, she just appeared, like some evil genie from a corporate lamp. And what did she want? Eloise asked, tilting her head like a talk show host about to deliver drama. To congratulate you, or maybe warn you about something. June's left eye blinked. Hard. That's none of your business, June said, her voice firm for the first time in her corporate life. And honestly, I don't know why you're so obsessed with my personal life. Don't you have a hobby? Plants? Netflix? Anything besides being a walking gossip radar? Someone choked, trying to hide a laugh. Eloise turned red, the kind of red that screamed pure humiliation. I just think, she continued, her tone sharpening, that people deserve to know when someone is being naive. Naive? June repeated, taking a step toward her. Or do you just hate that someone else got what you wanted? Dead silence. The kind of silence you hear from a reality show audience waiting for the fight to start. Eloise opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again, like a fish trying to process oxygen. Then Carter's voice cut through the tension like a hot knife through butter. Can someone explain what's going on here? He was standing in the doorway. Gray suit. Slightly loosened tie. Watching the scene like a director trying to figure out why his actors went off script. Eloise smiled like she'd just been rescued by divine intervention. Mr. Beaumont. Perfect timing. I was just saying that you should focus on work instead of creating drama like a soap opera writer? Carter interrupted, his voice carrying that CEO tone that made entire rooms snap to attention. Great idea. You can start now. All of you. Back to work. Meeting over. The team scattered like an anthill after a rainstorm. Except June, who stayed there holding the envelope like evidence that was burning her hands. Carter looked at her, then at the envelope, then back at her. My office. Now, 2 minutes later, June was sitting in a leather chair that probably cost more than her entire college education, while Carter closed the glass door and switched on the privacy mode that turned it opaque. Samantha was here, he said. It wasn't a question. How do you know? Because she called me to say she was coming to clear things up. Carter ran a hand through his hair, a gesture halfway between frustration and restraint. What did she tell you? June looked at the envelope, then at him, then back at the envelope. That you were obsessed with work, that you canceled everything for meetings, that she always came second. She took a breath, and she had proof. Carter closed his eyes, like someone who'd just been punched in the chest. May I see it? June handed him the envelope. He opened it, looked through each photo, each message. His face showed every piece of pain he was reliving. When he finished, he dropped everything on the table and looked at her. It's true, he admitted quietly. I was obsessed. I canceled. I made her feel like she didn't matter. And when she left, I rewrote the story to make myself seem less guilty. June's heart clenched, like someone had stepped on it with a stiletto. So she was right? I'm gonna end up... No. Carter cut her off, walking around the desk and kneeling in front of her like a scene straight out of an indie romance film. Because I've changed. Really changed. You know how I know? He took her hands. Because in the last 15 days, I've canceled 3 important meetings just to have lunch with you. I left the board waiting to get you ice cream at 10 at night. I chose you. Every single time, and I'll keep choosing you. Both her eyes filled with tears. Fast, heavy, unstoppable. How do I know that's true? Carter gave a small, sad smile. Ask your emotional radar. June blinked, once, just her left eye, softly, like a whisper saying, you can trust him. She laughed through her tears. My eye approved you, again. I'm honored, he whispered, kissing her forehead gently, like a quiet promise. And June knew, with absolute certainty, Samantha was wrong. Because this Carter, this was the one she knew, the one she trusted. When they walked out of the office hand in hand, Eloise was standing in the hallway, frozen, like a corporate salt statue. Carter stopped, looked at her, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Eloise. HR, now, we need to talk about cultural fit." Eloise stormed off like a defeated thundercloud. June looked at Carter and whispered, "You just protected what's mine." "Yes," he squeezed her hand, "and I'll always do that." And June knew one thing for sure. She'd won. June had a theory. Corporate events were like weddings where nobody really knew each other, but everyone pretended to be happy. And tonight, standing in front of the mirror in the Grand Hotel Seattle restroom, adjusting the navy blue dress Carter had insisted on buying, and which cost more than 3 months of rent, she was absolutely sure of it. "It's fine," she whispered to her reflection, adjusting her hair for the 17th time. "It's just a gala with 200 important people, 3 TV channels, and the man you love giving the main speech. No pressure. Totally calm, very zen." Her left eye blinked. "We had a deal," she hissed, poking her eyelid like she was trying to silence a broken alarm. "Tonight, you behave. No emotional radar, no chaos detector. Just exist, like a normal eye, of a normal person." The eye blinked again, harder. "I swear, if you betray me in front of 200 people, I'm putting on an eye patch and becoming a corporate pirate for good." Someone knocked on the door. "June, are you talking to your eye again?" Carter's voice carried that barely contained amusement. She opened the door like a soldier surrendering after losing a battle. Carter looked flawless. Black tuxedo, perfectly tied bow tie, probably courtesy of some invisible butler. Hair neatly styled. And that small smile that made her heart perform a full gymnastics routine. "I wasn't," June lied, 3 octaves higher than normal. "I was practicing a motivational speech. For myself. It's a common technique of corporate self-hypnosis." He stepped closer, took her hand and kissed her fingers like a fairy tale prince in Billionaire CEO form. "You look stunning," he said, voice low, so low it sent something dangerous down her spine. "I'm sweating like a marathon runner." June admitted because emotional honesty came as naturally to her as blinking. "And my eyes plotting against me. And I'm certain I'll trip and become a corporate meme." Carter laughed. Real laughter that made her chest tighten in the best way. "If you trip, I'll fall too." Emotional solidarity. "That's the most romantic and strangest thing anyone's ever said to me." He offered his arm, pure old-fashioned charm. "Ready?" June took a deep breath, hooked her arm through his, and whispered, "Ready for potential public humiliation, followed by international escape?" "Always." The ballroom looked like a Hollywood movie set. Massive crystal chandeliers, tables draped in white linen, flowers that probably cost more than a small car, and 200 people dressed like pages from a corporate fashion magazine. June clung to Carter's arm like it was a life preserver. "There are so many people," she whispered, "like an entire town, in one room, looking at me." "They're looking because you're the most beautiful woman here," Carter said, and he didn't sound like he was exaggerating. "You might want to check your glasses, because I'm clearly having a panic attack disguised as polite smiling." They reached the main table. 3 directors stood. A journalist approached, holding a microphone like a drama-seeking missile. "Mr. Bowmont," she said, smiling like a talk show host, "could we get a quick comment about tonight's speech?" Carter turned, keeping June close to him, his body language saying clearly, "Yes, she's with me, and it's no secret. I'll be talking about courage," he said, looking directly at June, "about how sensitivity isn't weakness, it's emotional intelligence in its purest form." June's left eye blinked, softly, like a whisper saying, "I love you, and you're going to ruin me in the best way." The journalist noticed. Of course she did. Reporters have radar for emotional drama. "And who's your guest tonight?" she asked, aiming the microphone at June like a weapon of embarrassment. June opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Brain. Blue-screened. "Juniper Hale," Carter said smoothly, giving her hand a reassuring squeeze. "Senior analyst of international contracts and the most brilliant person I've ever met." Her heart exploded. Literally stopped, rebooted, and started sprinting laps in her chest. "I? Thank you?" June stammered, blushing so hard she could have lit up the chandelier. "He exaggerates. I just read fast and have a strange love for footnotes." The journalist laughed like she'd just heard the quote of the year. "You two are adorable," she said, and June was certain the headline would read something like, billionaire CEO and adorable analyst, the new corporate power couple. 20 minutes later, Carter walked onto the stage, microphone in hand. Lights focused on him like the lead in a movie about to deliver the speech. June sat in the front row, holding a champagne glass like an emotional shield, as he began. "I spent 3 years believing vulnerability was weakness," Carter said, his voice steady and clear. "That showing emotion was a flaw in character. That sensitivity had no place in the corporate world." The entire room went silent, like a church right before the sermon that changes everything. "Until I met someone who proved me wrong." He looked straight at June. Someone who blinks when she feels too much, who talks to herself while processing emotion, who spills coffee when she's nervous, and somehow saved this company twice using the very traits the world calls flaws. June's left eye blinked. Then both did, perfectly synchronized emotional betrayal. "Sensitivity," Carter continued, "isn't weakness. It's radar. It's intelligence the world hasn't learned to value yet. And I was lucky enough to meet someone who taught me that." The audience applauded, like in those romantic movie moments when everyone knows it's happening. And June? She was crying. Beautiful, unfiltered indie movie tears. Carter stepped off the stage, walked straight to her, in front of 200 people. 3 cameras, 5 reporters. Then he knelt down. The whole ballroom froze, like a collective screenshot. "June," he said, taking her hand. "I don't have a ring. I didn't plan this. But I know one thing for sure. You made me feel again. And I never want to stop." Her brain short-circuited, restarted, froze again like a computer trying to process the impossible. Are you proposing to me?" she shouted, her voice echoing through the room like an emotional megaphone. "Technically, yes." Carter smiled, a nervous smile she'd never seen before. "But if you want me to wait and do the whole ring version with—" "Yes." June cut him off, pulling him to his feet and kissing him like every romantic movie had been leading to this exact moment. "Yes, yes," with all caps and 3 exclamation points. The room erupted in applause. Someone yelled, "Finally!" 3 people cried, including a director who swore it was allergies. When they pulled apart, Carter whispered, "Your eye blinked." "I know." June laughed through her tears. "Both of them. Full surrender. Good sign?" "The best. It means my emotional radar officially approved. You just passed the final test." Carter kissed her forehead, pulled her into his arms, and whispered, "I always knew. Your heart senses things before the world does." And June knew one thing for certain. The eye had won, and so had she. 3 hours later, driving home, June looked at Carter and whispered, "We got engaged in front of 200 people. Completely unplanned. Best spontaneous decision of my life." I cried like a soap opera character. Beautiful crying. Very cinematic. June laughed, laced her fingers with his, and murmured, "My eye isn't blinking. That means everything's fine. It means it's perfect." And as Seattle drifted past the window like a movie backdrop, June knew sensitivity wasn't a flaw. It was a superpower. And she just found the perfect partner to share it with for the rest of her life. When the kiss ended, a soft silence lingered between them. Her eyes shone, as if the world had finally made sense. Carter touched her face gently. No more trembling, no more chaos, just calm, and a heart saying yes. She laughed quietly. Her eye blinked once, soft, peaceful. It wasn't an alarm, it was a confession. "So, we're good?" he asked, wearing that rare, weightless smile. "It means my emotional detector approved," she whispered, with the perfect mix of courage and grace. "And it never fails." The crowd applauded, and for a moment everything in the world was exactly where it belonged. The girl who once blinked to survive, now blinked for love. Fade out. Soft light. Music that feels like an embrace. And now tell me, what did you think of June's little blink of destiny? Did your heart react before your mind did? Leave your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, how would you rate this story? And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more heartfelt stories filled with love, laughter, and moments that warm the soul. See you in the next story.